When it comes to the super rich, big tech companies, we all know companies like Meta, Apple, and Amazon. Nobody knows Tencent, but it knows you. Tencent is a Chinese conglomerate worth more than Facebook, MasterCard, and Samsung. Most people don't know what Tencent does, but the company is involved in almost every industry worldwide. Tencent's WeChat app dominates every aspect of life in China, with nearly all of China's population using it for at least 4 hours a day. WeChat is just one app, packed with all the most used services like Facebook, PayPal, WhatsApp, Netflix, Google, Spotify, Uber, Yelp, Tinder, Zoom, YouTube, Deliveroo, Amazon, and others. This gives Tencent access to all your data. Your private messages and images are scanned to see if they need to be censored. But that's not the scariest part. The Chinese Communist Party also has access to all that information and uses WeChat as a powerful surveillance tool. So how can a company be this huge and influential and no one has heard of it? Well, that's precisely how they want it to be. Tencent is the kind of company that prefers running things from the shadows, and that's why we don't hear much about the company or its founder, Pony Ma. The uncomfortable truth about Tencent is that the business was started by just ripping off someone else's idea, and the company has almost no original innovation. Tencent started after Pony stumbled across an internet chat platform called ICQ. ICQ was the first mass-adopted instant message system on the internet at that time, and in 1998, Pony and his Tencent co-founders, 3 of his friends from school, launched OICQ, their own duplicate chat service that was more tailored towards the Chinese market. OICQ also downloaded much faster and allowed strangers to connect, so it became a social network. But in 2004, Microsoft brought their chat service MSN into the Chinese market as a direct competitor to Tencent OICQ, which was later renamed QQ. Although Microsoft had vast wealth and resources, Tencent had one big advantage over Microsoft. Tencent's decision-making was much faster due to its scrappy startup nature. They launched new features quickly and could fix issues along the way. Tencent was able to incorporate features like offline messaging in just a couple of weeks, which Microsoft's China team suggested but never implemented. Tencent's QQ chat service ran on local Chinese servers, making it much faster than MSN, initially keeping all its data on US servers. After the success of QQ, Tencent decided to expand into acquiring and building games of their own, since people use QQ while playing games. Within a year of integrating games into QQ, Tencent added another $50 million in annual revenue without making any games. All they had to do was team up with makers of popular games in other countries, bringing their game to the Chinese market and promote them to their massive QQ user base. Tencent also developed a new strategy of investing in many Chinese businesses, especially those who could become competition, essentially becoming a startup incubator. With the many businesses they had in hand, they built an ecosystem of related companies using their existing user base and infrastructure. But QQ was still the biggest thing Tencent had until another app, also created by Tencent, came along. This app was created due to Pony Ma's paranoia that a new startup could displace its dominance in the age of the mobile internet. To prevent this, he created 3 teams to work on a new mobile messaging app, competing against each other and the desktop-based QQ. The best team eventually created WeChat, a free mobile chat app similar to WhatsApp and Kik, and in January 2011, Tencent launched WeChat. Although it wasn't a massive hit right away, it started gaining traction in China when Tencent added Push Talk, which allowed people to record a voice note that would convert what they said into a text message. WeChat was not only a hit in China, but it also became a dominant player in the global market. Tencent's ability to leverage its existing user base and infrastructure made WeChat a force to be reckoned with in the worldwide market. In 2020, WeChat had over 1.2 billion monthly active users and was considered China's most popular social media platform. WeChat's mini program feature has made Tencent the gatekeeper to the market for other businesses in China. Companies must partner with Tencent for their services to be used, which enables Tencent Tencent to tax all the other companies by taking a percentage of the revenue generated through their mini programs. WeChat is linked to so many other companies, which means users have to go through WeChat to reach another app or website and then pay for goods or services with WeChat. Tencent has become a money machine, and it doesn't need to rely heavily on advertising revenue. Instead, they make money through microtransactions, since they are involved in many aspects of people's lives. But while WeChat dominates people's lives in China, it is a different story outside China. Estimates suggest only around 100 million people use it outside China, and the primary reason for this is Tencent's complicated relationship with the Chinese government. In 1979, China designated Schengen as the first test zone of its new economic plans, allowing capitalist business models. This began China's ascent to becoming a global superpower, and Schengen became the Silicon Valley of China, home to many of China's tech giants, including Tencent. The Chinese government allowed some Chinese companies, including Tencent, to operate with a lot of freedom as long as they were benefiting China and the Communist Party overall. This enabled companies like Tencent to build dominant companies without any real regulation as long as they benefited China. They felt it elevated the image of China and Chinese entrepreneurship by having these hugely successful companies. This also meant that local Chinese companies dominated instead of foreign companies succeeding in China. The government then made it mandatory for foreign companies to partner with local Chinese companies. Tencent's access to so much data is attractive to the Chinese government, since it allows them to invest in many other companies in China and abroad, giving China a lot of influence and control over the narrative. Tencent's relationship with the Chinese government has enabled them to become a dominant player in the tech industry in China, but this has come at the cost of a complicated relationship with the government. In China, when businesses reach a certain size, they are usually required to partner with one of the big three companies, such as Alibaba or Tencent. However, ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, is an exemption to this rule. Western social media giants like Facebook and Google initially dismissed TikTok's threat until TikTok grew and stole hundreds of millions of users from them. Eventually, they launched their short video apps, but it was too late. TikTok had already become a massive hit through advertising on their platforms. Unlike the Western tech giants, Tencent immediately recognized the threat TikTok posed and executed its playbook move. It assembled a team to clone TikTok with WeChat and then ran massive promotions to advertise it. Tencent also banned TikTok from its advertising on its platforms and started blocking links or mentions of TikTok on its platforms. However, this tactic did not work for once, because TikTok's biggest strength was its machine learning algorithm that accurately showed users the content that would keep them on the platform longer. As a result, once people were hooked on TikTok's algorithm that already knew their preferences and was perfectly tailored to them, there was a little incentive to switch to Tencent's copycat version and start over with an algorithm that did not yet know their preferences as well. But even with Tencent's loss to TikTok, the company still has a bigger picture plan for world domination. Of course, Tencent has huge amounts of traffic and money, far more than any competitor. Hence, the plan is to attract other businesses to launch their mini programs via WeChat, so they can leverage some of WeChat's traffic. Tencent would then invest money into the companies that were doing the best. Since Tencent has all the data on which mini programs people were using, how often and how much money they were spending, it will artificially give more traffic to the more profitable companies after investing in certain businesses. With this, Tencent makes even more money, which they will eventually reinvest in even more companies. In other words, Tencent can cherry-pick the best mini programs, invest in them, boost their popularity, and practically guarantee their investment as a big success. No other company in the world has quite the same level of data on user behavior to see what's popular, and then the ability to significantly significantly increase their value further by promoting them within WeChat. This strategy also creates cooperation between Tencent's investments. Tencent, the Chinese conglomerate, has found success in various areas, including its video platform that inserts extra ads into movies and TV series, which help it generate $86 billion in 2021 alone, making it one of the most profitable companies. But as Tencent's market cap approaches $1 trillion, it began to face a lot more scrutiny. Donald Trump threatens to ban WeChat and other Chinese apps because the Chinese Communist Party could use them to steal users' private data, censor anything critical of China, and help spread misinformation. Even now, with the Biden administration, there are continued investigations into these Chinese apps and whether they are a national security risk that should be banned. As one of China's biggest companies, Tencent was thrust into the international spotlight more than it would like. However, its strategy of taking minority stakes in global companies gave it a lot of protection. However, Tencent's worst nightmare became a reality when the Chinese regulators suddenly stopped approving all new games from being released. This caused Tencent's profit to fall for the first time in over a decade because it couldn't release or monetize new games due to this government policy. So Tencent had to make big changes, including introducing facial recognition linked to police databases in its games to appease the Chinese government. In just a few decades, by adapting to new technologies, creating a strong ecosystem of services, and using their connections with the Chinese government, despite facing challenges and criticism, Tencent remains a dominant force in China and continues to invest in companies abroad. The future of Tencent is uncertain, but as a company that has consistently stayed ahead of the curve, it will undoubtedly be interesting to see what new developments and technologies they pursue in the years to come. And that's it. So be sure to check out our next video featuring more authentic success stories from top brands. Nike, the $0 startup that changed the game.